In what could be one of the biggest stories in modern day WWE history, the WWE board is reportedly investigating Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon along with John Laurinaitis about a possible hush money settlement to a person that Vince McMahon was reportedly having an affair with. All this and more in this massive WWE news story. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. Now, this story did break yesterday evening, but I wanted to give it at least maybe 12 hours or so because I knew that way more was going to come out about this, and certainly it has. And as I mentioned at the top of the video here, it could be possibly one of the biggest stories in modern day WWE history, or certainly one of the biggest stories ever in WWE history. Now, the reason I say that is because of the ramifications tied to it. This isn't really the first time we've heard something like this associated with WWE and Vince McMahon. If you go back in the past, WWE and Vince McMahon's past is very shady, but this is huge, and the possible ramifications of it could be massive for WWE's future. Now, huge news came out of WWE's corporate end yesterday as the Wall Street Journal was reporting that the board of WWE World Wrestling Entertainment Inc. is investigating a $3 million settlement paid to a former employee by WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon, with whom he allegedly had an affair. Now, according to the Journal's sources, the separation agreement is from January of this year and bars the former paralegal from discussing her relationship with McMahon or disparaging him in any way. Now, the WWE board has said the relationship between McMahon and the employee, who was hired in 2019, was consensual. Now, the WWE board began investigating McMahon in April of this year. As I mentioned, the settlement was in January. The board began investigating McMahon in April and has since uncovered more settlements like this. Now, the investigation has reportedly uncovered previous NDA, non-disclosure agreements, by former WWE employees, which not only claim misconduct by McMahon, but also the current head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis. Now, there is no word on how many agreements were unearthed by this investigation or the total amount paid in NDAs. That is yet to be determined by the WWE board, but a source noted that it was in the millions, and of course it would be because just the first NDA alone is $3 million. So if we're talking several, we could be talking tens of millions of dollars here. Now, the investigation also discovered that McMahon used personal funds, not WWE funds, personal funds to pay the former female employees. The personal funds were not only used for the complaints against McMahon, as McMahon also reportedly used personal funds to pay for the settlement involving Laurinaitis as well. Now, according to McMahon's attorney, Jerry McDevitt, he said, quote, WWE didn't pay any monies to the former employee, which lines up with the investigation's report that McMahon used his personal funds as this hush money settlement. Now, while the investigation is mainly focused on the settlements to the former employees, it would also broadly investigate WWE's HR program, as well as the company culture as a whole. It's reportedly trying to figure out if this is a systemic problem with McMahon and other high-level executives within the company. Now, the Wall Street Journal is noting that the 12-person board of directors still includes McMahon's daughter, who of course recently stepped away from her duties as the chief brand officer to take time away from family. We don't know if this is linked either. There's lots of speculation and rumors going around regarding this as well. Now, as I mentioned, the reason I wanted to wait a little bit before making a video about this is because I was sure, and I was proven to be right here, that way more information was going to come out about it. Now, the settlement, as I mentioned, was in January of 2022. The investigation began in April after the WWE board had made aware of this $3 million settlement between McMahon and the former paralegal for the company, of which McMahon reportedly had the affair with. Now, Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp, they have a separate report to the Wall Street Journal's report. They have some backstage news about the ongoing allegations against both McMahon and Laurinaitis. Now, according to the report by Sean Ross Sapp, sources that Fightful have spoken to do indicate that the relationship between McMahon and the paralegal was suspected by many within the company, and it is even hinted that she was actually given a substantial promotion around the time of April 2021. As I mentioned, she was hired in 2019, and this is significant as well because at the time of April 2021, April last year, there was a huge amount of budget cuts at the time. Now, during this period of time in which people are getting fired and they're getting laid off, she's getting a promotion because she was having an affair with the WWE chairman. Now, she was promoted from John Laurinaitis' assistant to a, quote, director role that spring. Now, Stephanie McMahon is on the company board and would have been aware of the investigation, as would have Nick Khan and Triple H. Now, Fightful also asked about Nia Jax's tweets from April 30 that had a lot of people talking at the time. Now, at the time, it was put to her being bitter. Oh, it's a former WWE superstar being bitter, and she's got some controversial viewpoints anyway. She said at the time, and I quote, "It's a shame. Some people deserve to get the opportunity to shine like the star they really are, but unfortunately, certain higher-ups can never see past their own perverted ways. Too bad there aren't the lucky ones who can use blackmail to keep their jobs," end quote. Now, there was no mention of it from any higher-ups, and the tweet was just dismissed at the time as being bitter. The tweet would have been after the investigation was already underway, though. Now, when John Laurinaitis was given the spot back as head of talent relations in 2021, it was met with quite a lot of mixed signals, wasn't it? Because female talent were reportedly frustrated with this move to have Laurinaitis once again be the head of talent relations. One source revealed to Fightful, according to the report, that she would rather get all of her stuff sent to her in a trash bag when she gets fired than have to deal with Laurinaitis. That is a reference to, of course, Trash Bag Gate that Mickie James had with the former head of talent relations, Mark Carrano. Now, one former office employee also said that they believe there will be a, quote, domino effect and Vince McMahon will fight hard to stay, but doesn't see a situation in which John Laurinaitis doesn't resign. There are also assumptions that these allegations are the biggest threat to McMahon's power in WWE since the infamous steroid trial nearly 3 decades ago. At that time, of course, Vince McMahon was on trial against the federal government. There were worries he was going to be going to jail, and people like Jerry Jarrett or Bill Watts coming in to take over the company while McMahon was incarcerated. Of course, eventually he was acquitted, but that was a huge threat to him and the company, and it was during a period of time that WWE's finances dropped significantly. It was also noted in the report that some sources said to Fightful they expect John Laurinaitis to be replaced before all is said and done, and one speculated that he is being, quote, the latest fall guy to be set up for Vince. His turn in line was coming. Now, one male wrestler who was active from the 2000s and 2010s in WWE told Fightful there had long been rumors of John Laurinaitis' misconduct, while a former writer said it was an open suspicion in the mid-2000s. As I mentioned, there is way more about this story. Now, despite the fact that the WWE board is investigating its chairman and CEO, according to Dave Meltzer on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, the company is still going ahead with, quote, a business as usual mentality. And again, why wouldn't they be? Of course they would be going on as a business as usual mentality. They're not going to stop this from operating on a day-to-day basis. Now, when it comes to internally WWE, their reaction to this story and the employees working for WWE at a corporate level, according to WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston, WWE has sent out an internal memo to staff addressing the situation. Quote, the Wall Street Journal has published a report about WWE with allegations that we and our board of directors take seriously, the memo reportedly said. We are cooperating with the independent investigation initiated by our board of directors. So WWE, as I mentioned, are operating as a business as usual mentality. Again, why wouldn't they? But a memo has been sent out internally to WWE employees saying we're cooperating, and that's all we can really say about it right now. As to what my thoughts are on the whole situation, look, it's a bombshell story. Certainly when I saw it last night, I went, wow, because that is, it's a shocking story. I would be lying, though, honestly, if I said I was surprised. I would be lying. Honestly, I would be lying if I said I'm shocked by this story. Pro wrestling fans and WWE fans, there is a part of WWE that we don't like to talk about. There's a part of WWE that we like just to forget about. And in fairness, I think the casual fan or even some sort of more hardcore fans might not be aware of WWE's shady past when it comes to these kind of things. But the scandals in WWE go back to the 70s. Each decade, there has been scandal after scandal after scandal when it comes to WWE. Do I need to talk about the first ever female referee? Do I need to talk about the Ring Boy scandal? Do I need to talk about Jimmy Snuka? Do I need to talk about the steroid scandal? There clearly has been a culture of this in WWE. And for those that say this won't affect Vince McMahon, or Vince McMahon's still going to be the chairman, he's still going to be the CEO, it's his company. Bigger people at bigger companies have been forced out of their company because of allegations such as this. Now, granted, some of the allegations at the time would have been more serious. We're talking about sort of assaults. At the time, I think about the CBS was it chairman Les Moonves. I think about Roger Ailes from Fox. You know, those people, they were hugely important and influential in those companies, and they got forced out because of allegations made against them. Now, again, it's not exactly the same here with Vince McMahon, because by all accounts, this relationship that he had with the paralegal was consensual. The reason I think WWE are investigating this is, one, they're saying, well, how many times has this happened? Two, if it's happened several times, is this the cultural problem within the company? Is this the seedy underbelly of the company that we didn't know about? And look, WWE is a publicly traded company. They have a board of directors. A board of directors can vote out a chairman or a CEO out of the company. That is entirely possible. And if they find out, or they come to the conclusion that the man running this company has been behaving in manners that isn't fit for the company, or they believe that he's been behaving in a manner that is damaging to the company and can do real damage to the company, they can come to the conclusion, we need to vote this guy out. And they can do it. And do I think John Laurinaitis is going to stick around? No, I agree with what all of the reports are saying. I think he's done. Do I think he's a fool guy? Well, if he's been doing the same things as Vince McMahon, he shouldn't be working there anyway. You have to be professional. And WWE and pro wrestling in general has this systemic problem of being a boys' club. You know, we've come so far when it comes to female talent and female wrestlers being the main event of programs, but there still clearly is a perception issue within the company. We've been saying it, haven't we, recently, when it comes to the way that females have been presented on WWE programming over the course of the last 18 months or so, with the rehires of people like John Laurinaitis, like Bruce Pritchard. Clearly, you can see the way that females are presented. There's still a bit of a problem. We've heard about the issues in NXT from Ember Moon when they were having meetings about dressing sexier. We've heard about Toni Storm saying that in that segment she had with Charlotte Flair, they wanted to have her top ripped off. They're warning signs. They're red flags. And if incidents like this have been happening for decades and it gets unearthed by the WWE board, that could be a real problem in WWE. And Vince McMahon might be in a lot of trouble. Ultimately, do I see him being forced out of his own company? I think those chances are probably slim, but there is absolutely a possibility. It depends how deep they go. And a lot of things are starting to add up, it must be said. A lot of things are starting to add up. People are saying Stephanie McMahon might have said she's taking time away from the company to spend time with her family, and that might be valid. But a lot of people speculated at the time there is something going on. And as that report said, she is still on the board of directors, and before she took her leave of absence, she would have known. She would have known that this investigation is ongoing, and maybe she, like us, as I mentioned, this isn't the first time something like this has happened over the decades. Maybe she decides enough. And she said, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going on hiatus. I'll come back when it's over, and I'll see what I'm coming back into. Some people have speculated, like this is a Game of Thrones situation, that Nick Khan is trying to assume power in the WWE. He's forced all of these people out, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and now Vince McMahon himself, the biggest person to force out of the company. Who knows how it's all going to work out? But it is a massive story that I think, frankly, is only just beginning. As I mentioned, this hush payment was made in January of this year. The investigation began only a couple of months ago, and it depends how deep they go, because I have a feeling that if you dig deep enough when it comes to WWE, there are more than a lot of skeletons in that closet, particularly Vince McMahon's. And it's going to be a huge story that, as I mentioned, I think has only scratched the surface right now. So let me know your thoughts on this massive story. Let me know where you think it plays out. Let me know if you think there are going to be more details surrounding all of this. Let me know your thoughts in the description box below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And I'll speak for you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.